How are you doing today? Today we're doing a little job. Actually, we've done a whole bunch of jobs. We had to do some brakes, and as part of that service I did the wheel bearings as well. I had to replace the front wheel bearings here on a 98 Tercel, and I had some issues getting the cotter pin out of the drive shaft, so I ended up having to pull the drive shaft out after this was all done, which meant I lost a whole pile of fluid from the differential. Okay, on these Tercels, this is a 4-speed automatic. The differential has a separate area for oil compared to the rest of the transmission. On a number of Toyotas you will see this. There's a differential drain plug and a differential fill plug, as well as your normal transmission drain plug, and which you then fill through the dipstick tube. So on this one you have to fill it through the plug that's on the back of the differential. It's close to the firewall, a bit of an awkward spot to get to. I'm going to show you in a moment a still picture of the plug, and we'll be taking out that plug and filling it. Okay, just basically we're topping up the oil that was lost when we pulled the drive shaft. Now these usually use automatic transmission fluid in the differentials. There's been lots of debate online as to whether that oil is shared with the transmission or not. To the best of my knowledge, it's not. It's separate, and it needs to be filled up separately. I do know of people who've drained the differential and not filled it up separately and then proceeded to blow the differential. So you do definitely have to refill it through this plug at the back of the differential. On most Toyotas, they use either a 17mm plug or a 10mm Allen key. In this case, it uses a T35 Torx wrench. Okay, a little bit different than most Toyotas, or at least of the older generation that I'm familiar with. But that's in fact what we need to pull out. Okay, we have a special contraption that I built out of an old power steering hose. It's simply a piece of power steering hose with a 90-degree bend at the bottom that'll facilitate getting it in, because it's an awkward spot to fill. And I've simply attached it to my transmission funnel. Okay, it's got a nice long piece of hose that can reach down between the firewall and the differential. We'll just insert that in the plug hole, fill it up. When it starts pouring out of the plug hole, it's full. All right, it's a little bit messy. Make sure you got a bucket to catch it all, but not exactly rocket science. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so it's all done. We filled it to the point where it was starting to come back out of the hole. We let it drip down. When it stopped dripping, we put our drain plug back in. I hope you noticed the still there with the drain plug with the rubber seal on it. Make sure the rubber seal's good. Torque it nice and tight, kind of like you would an oil pan plug. Just good and snug. I'm sure there's a proper torque rating, but I have no idea what it is. I know there's some controversy about whether differentials should be using ATF or 75W90 or something like that. These ones use ATF. They have done that for quite some time. Since the late 80s they've been using that in differentials. So don't worry, it's more than sufficient to look after the needs of that differential. Okay. Little trick, if you have a pump, you can use the fluid transfer pump. Very difficult to get in there though. That 90-degree bend on the end of the hose is what makes it work so much easier. So I would say go to the wreckers, find yourself an old piece of power steering hose, take the return line, cut it off, and you've got yourself a funnel to do this sort of job in the future. Alright, anyways, take care and we'll talk to you next time.